Chapter 21 Separation Plan. Maximus sat at his desk, surrounded by stacks of papers and scrolls. His piercing blue eyes scanned the report that had just been delivered to him, detailing the division of the kingdom between the dukes and the formation of the noble alliance. He read through the report calmly, without so much change in his expression. To him, what was happening was simply a natural process of power struggles and alliances that had been happening for centuries. The report outlined how the three powerful dukes, Charles, Darwin, and Thomas, divide the kingdom among themselves. Maximus couldn't help but admire their cunning and foresight. They had seen an opportunity and had taken it, seizing control of the land they wanted. But he also knew that the noble families weren't ones to sit idly by and watch their power slip away. They had formed an alliance, despite their long-standing feuds and grudges against each other, to fight back against the dukes. As he read through the report, he noted the strengths and weaknesses of each side. The dukes had more soldiers and better trained troops, but they needed to defend a large place which the alliance had the advantage of, being able to fight in guerrilla warfare and use ragtag groups to gain an edge. After finishing reading the detailed report on the ongoing developments within the empire, Maximus turned his attention to the invitation that had been sitting on his desk for days. The invitation, sent by Lord Harrington, head of the Noble Alliance, urged Maximus to make a decision promptly. However, Maximus had not bothered to read the contents of the letter. He had received similar invitation weeks prior before the conflict between the dukes and the Noble Alliance had escalated to its current state. Maximus had known what the letter contained even before opening it. It was an invitation, or rather a warning, for him to choose a side. But Maximus had no intention of aligning himself with either faction. The politics and power struggles of the nobles and dukes held no interest for him. The reason Maximus had not responded to the earlier invitation was simple: he had no intention of becoming their ally, as he planned to establish his own kingdom independently. Moreover, despite his place location being isolated and barren, it had its own advantages, particularly its proximity to the sea. Moreover, when you include the barren parts of the land surrounding his territory, the total land area is 10 times the size of the empire he is in. However, he cannot develop it yet due to his lack of population and, more importantly, he is still too weak to protect it. During the previous weeks, the nobles and dukes had been too preoccupied with their own conflicts to spare a thought for this desolate territory. Now, however, with the situation calming down and a semblance of stability returning to the empire, they were already beginning to extend their arms outward. They sought to assert their dominance and bring every corner of the land under their control, even the seemingly insignificant places like his domain. But he didn't give any thought to it. He had fortified his territory into a formidable fortress, making any attempt to invade it pointless. Not to mention, his power was not to be underestimated. With a steady stream of strong knights produced in his 1,000-strong armies, even the regular armies of the nobles and dukes would struggle to match his forces. Moreover, the nobles and dukes were too consumed with their own power struggles to spare the resources needed to chase after one man in a barren wasteland. Maximus folded the letter and placed it back on the desk. He was deep in thought. He knew that this was a great time, a time when he could take power into his own and rule his own land. He had always wanted to establish his own kingdom, but he knew he was too weak. Originally, he had planned to train until he reached at least the 4th-tier elemental mage level before stating his plan. However, now with all this chaos going on, not building his own power would leave him vulnerable and unable to do anything. But the question was how? Maximus knew that he couldn't simply go out and occupy the surrounding land given his current strength. He needed a plan, a strategy that would help him gain territory and power in a way that wouldn't lead to much bloodshed. As he was thinking, his gaze fell on the map of the surrounding area that hung on his wall. He studied it intently, tracing the lines of the rivers and mountains with his finger. And then it hit him. There was a small valley not far from his own land, one that was perfectly aligned with the warring factions. If he could secure that land, he could establish a foothold in the area and begin to expand his influence. A smile slowly spread across his face as he began to formulate a plan. He could send a small group of trusted men to the valley, disguised as traders or merchants. They would establish a small trading post there, and while gathering information, they could also recruit refugees to plug the population shortage in their land. Over time, they could also build a trading area to export their products and earn money. However, Maximus knew that he needed to be careful with this plan. He couldn't afford to draw attention to himself and risk being caught by the church or other powerful factions in the region. He would need to make sure that his men were well trained and equipped to handle any situation that might happen, He would need to be patient as it would not bring immediate results. It would take time to establish the trading post and build up his army. But he was very patient, taking his time and preparing until his strength grew. He gathered his men and began to lay out the details of the operation. As they worked on the plan, he thought of what he would do after. If they were successful in establishing a trading area, he could begin to expand his own army, and with the money and people, he could also expand his territory. Instead of snatching territories like others, he would like to create it more. Although the plan was not foolproof, Maximus did not want to resort to extreme measures that could attract unwanted attention from powerful factions from the central continent. This area is called the Sunburnt Plateau, part of the scattered island-like mass of land in the Cursed Continent. The strongest here is at most Tier 3 Mage or Tier 4 Knight due to it being a low magic area that they can't advance further. The cult only came here to sacrifice common people to their god for some quick boost of strength. As for uniting the place to generate faith, that was impossible as the continent was tightly guarded by mages in the central continent. Chapter 22, adding Concubine. Maximus sat on a blanket spread out in the backyard, surrounded by his children. The warm sunlight bathed them, creating a serene atmosphere. In his arms, he held two newest addition to his family, two beautiful babies with cat-like features, born just a few days ago by his third and fourth wife. He named them Lila and Lydia. His other children gathered around, their eyes filled with wonder as they looked at their tiny sibling. They giggled and cooed, eager to play with their new baby sisters. Maximus smiled, feeling an overwhelming sense of love and joy. As the children counted their brother and sister, they counted a total of 6 little ones, making him smile at their funny antics. His family was expanding, with the imminent arrival of more children from his first and second wives who became pregnant again. He gently rocked the baby in his arms, whispering words of love and care. As he watched his children play and the newborn babies cradled in his arms like an angel, Maximus couldn't help but think about the situation that is happening in the now-ruined kingdom. But for now, though, he was content to sit in the garden, surrounded by the people he loved most in the world. His children's laughter and the gentle care of his wives were the only matter to him at this moment. Maximus tossed and turned in his bed, feeling lonely and restless. The emptiness of the room weighed heavily on his mind. With his third and fourth wives recently giving birth, and his first 2 wives being pregnant, he found himself lonely in his bed. The absence of their warmth and presence left him feeling a void that he hadn't experienced before. As he pondered his predicament, a thought began to form in Maximus's mind. Perhaps it was time to expand his harem and add more women to his household. Not only would it alleviate the loneliness he felt, but it could also provide him with additional strength. In the past, Maximus never bothered to add more women to his harem. He had always been selective and never found high-quality women who truly captured his attention. As for the gold points gathered by the system when he had a wife, which is now 220 gold points per day, he did not need that already, as just the gold coins from wine and food sales from his city is more than that. After all, although there is a war going on, food is a necessity in life. And nobles can't do without wine. When he sold wine to Lord Marcus and Lady Diana, the wine shot up, becoming famous among the nobles. The originally 10 gold coins per wine become 10 times more expensive. Now for wine alone he can sell 20,000 gold coins a month, which is more than 600 gold coins plus the food. Moreover, his inherent laziness had prevented him from actively seeking out potential additions to his household. Maximus stands out of his bed as he reached for the intercom, an inconspicuous piece of alchemy item amidst the lavish decorations. With a push of a button, he called for Phantom, the esteemed leader of the Phantom group, to meet with him the following day. Alchemy and mechanical item is not prevalent in this place, so those who were unfamiliar with it just raised some eyebrows. Moreover, when he took out these little items, he reasoned that it was his invention in his pastime. After all, he was a Tier 2 great mage, so they have no doubts. Moreover, Maximus had taken precautions to ensure loyalty and secrecy among his people. Each of his trusted subordinates had willingly signed a loyalty contract infused with powerful magic, binding their allegiance to him. This ensured that those who used items that he took out from the system were not spread and caused doubts among the people. Although he heard that alchemy and mechanical items were common in the central continent, here in Sunburnt Plateau, it was a rare existence, considering that there are almost no magical resources in this area for these magical items to thrive. In the early morning, Maximus met up with Phantom, the leader of the Phantom group, in a secluded room of his estate. As they sat across from each other, Maximus wasted no time getting to the point. Phantom, Maximus said in a low voice, somewhat embarrassed. I have a task for you. I need you to discreetly scout for potential candidates to join my harem. I understand, my lord. I will do my best to scout any potential candidates that fit my lord. Phantom nodded, with his expression unchanged. Excellent. I will await the result of your search. I trust your judgment, Phantom. As a smile crept across Maximus' face, they delved into a detailed discussion, strategizing on what type he liked and how to distinguish their character. Maximus emphasized the importance of their mission and ensure enough confidentially before he finalized this matter. As Princess Emma stepped out of the carriage, she took in the sights and sounds of the bustling city. It was vastly different from her own home in the fairy imperial city. She watched in fascination as a group of people walked past her, unbothered by her beautiful features, at most stealing a few curious glances. As Emma stepped out, she was greeted by her attendant Jane. She was wearing armor that made her look like a warrior, her face stoic and unbattered. Emma smiled at her old friend, grateful for her company and protection during their escape. She knew that she couldn't have made it this far without her. As Princess Emma and her attendant Jane walked down the street, they marveled at the lively atmosphere and the beautiful clothing worn by the people of the city. The streets were clean and bustling with activity, in stark contrast to the smelly and dirty streets in the imperial city. Jane, this city is so lively, Emma said, looking around in awe. Everyone is dressed so beautifully, and the streets are so clean. Yes, Your Highness, Jane replied, nodding in agreement. The people here seem to be living quite prosperous lives. It's a stark contrast from the poverty and despair of the places we passed through before. It's surprising that the war hasn't seemed to affect this city. They continued to walk, admiring the various shops and stalls that lined the streets. Emma was drawn to the beautiful clothes on display and couldn't help but feel the desire to acquire some for herself. Jane, do you think we should buy some new clothes while we're here? Emma asked, eyeing a beautiful dress displayed in a shop window. Of course, Your Highness, Jane replied with a smile. We do need to replenish our supplies anyway, so it's a good opportunity to pick up some new clothes as well. Emma and Jane made their way into the shop, the bell above the door ringing as they entered. The shop was filled with colorful dresses and outfits that caught their eyes. Emma walked towards a rack of dresses, her fingers running over the soft fabric. She pulled out a flowing blue dress, admiring the intricate embroidery on the sleeves. This is beautiful, Emma said, holding it up to her body. What do you think, Jane? It suits you well, Your Highness, Jane replied with a smile. Emma nodded, walking around the shop as Jane followed her. She spotted a red dress with gold accents, pulling it out to take a closer look. The dress hugged her figure perfectly, and she twirled around, feeling the fabric brush against her skin. This is perfect, Emma said, a wide smile spreading across her face. Jane nodded in agreement. It is stunning, Your Highness. As they continued to browse through the shop, Emma found more outfits that she loved, including a green dress with delicate lace work and a simple white tunic with intricate beading. After they bought their favorite clothes, they came across a vendor selling fresh fruits and vegetables. Emma didn't recognize some of the fruits, but they look appetizing. Look, Jane, they seem to have unique fruits. Emma exclaimed. Yes, we'll get that as well, Jane replied as she rolled her eyes. They spent the rest of the morning wandering around the city, shopping to buy supplies and trying new foods. As they walked, they discussed their plans before going to the city of Birun, their next stop before going to the central continent. Chapter 23, Using Force as Warning. Emma and Jane were browsing through the shops, admiring the colorful displays and chatting about their latest purchases. As they walked down the street, Emma suddenly felt someone watching her. She looked around but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Feeling uneasy, Emma pulled Jane aside and whispered, "Do you think we're being watched? I think someone is following us." Jane looked over and saw nothing. "I don't know. But I felt it," Emma replied as the two of them quickly made their way through the crowd. After a few minutes, the feeling of being watched is gone. Emma couldn't help but wonder if she was imagining things. Just then, a group of people in black clothing hid in the alley. They were standing a few meters away, looking at her pass through the crowd. The group seemed to be discussing something amongst themselves. One of them pulled out a small notepad and wrote down Emma and Jane's names. They were part of the Phantom Group, a secret organization that searched for suitable candidates for Maximus, the Lord's elite group of agents. "They look promising," one member of the Phantom Group said, eyeing Emma and Jane from afar. "We should investigate them further." "Yes, we must further investigate their background and most importantly their character," another member replied, jotting down notes on the notepad. We can't have any unworthy candidates in our Lord's harem. The group continued to observe Emma and Jane, noting their every move and expression. It was clear that the two had caught their attention, and they were determined to assess their true potential as additions to Maximus' harem group. After a few moments, the phantom group disappeared into the shadows, leaving Emma and Jane none the wiser of their secret investigation. Emma and Jane had no idea that their names had just been added to the phantom group's list. They continued their shopping, unaware that they were being selected in some shady list. The small army of mercenaries, dispatched by the Noble Alliance, secretly infiltrate Maximus' territory. As they made their way through the city streets, the mercenaries couldn't help but be captivated by the lively and bustling scene that unfolded before them. The aroma of freshly cooked food filled the air, and the sound of laughter and music echoed through the streets. It seemed as though the inhabitants were fully immersed in their revelries. Caught up in the infectious energy of the city, the mercenaries found themselves gradually immersed in the festivities atmosphere. They entered a tavern, where they indulged in hearty meals and raised their mugs in raucous toasts. The vibrant atmosphere, combined with the tantalizing dishes and flowing drinks, momentarily made them forget their purpose and mission. Amidst the merriment, some mercenaries engaged in friendly competitions, challenging the locals in arm wrestling matches or testing their skills in dart-throwing contests. Laughter and bragging filled the tavern as the mercenaries blended in seamlessly with the jovial crowd. As they laughed and joked with the locals, one of the mercenaries remarked, "This city is alive with energy. It's hard to believe it's located in the most barren land of the kingdom." Another replied, "Yeah, I know what you mean. It seems like there is no food shortage and everyone looks wealthy without a care about anything else." As the night wore on, their revelry continued and the mission to raid Maximus' castle slipped further from their minds. They were lost in the moment, enjoying the fleeting pleasures of the city. Little did they know, Maximus was already aware of their presence and was preparing to eliminate them. The mercenaries were completely unaware that their carefree enjoyment would soon come to an end, and that they would soon face the full force of Maximus' army. Maximus was in his study, going through a pile of documents that required his attention. He was engrossed in his work when suddenly, an alarm went off from one of the devices in the room. Warning, warning, intruders alert. Sighting of several high-energy beings. Estimated strength great knights. The warning message was alarming, indicating that several high-energy beings had been sighted in the vicinity of his territory. The estimated strength of these beings was equivalent to great knights, a formidable force in an area where Earth knights were known to be powerhouses and Sky knights were considered a myth. If only 1 or 2 knights entered his territory, he could dismiss it as a tourist visit. However, the fact that tens of them were spotted at the same time, it was clear that they had come for him. Maximus projected a screen which displayed a live feed of the city. His eyes were cold as he saw a group of suspected mercenaries making their way into the city. They were trying to blend in, but their energy signatures gave them away. Maximus quickly reached for his communicator and called for the head of his guard, Edwin. "Edwin, we have a problem. I need you to quickly assemble the guards and settle them." Edwin's voice came through the communicator. "Understood, my lord. We are on it." Maximus instructed Edwin to permit the use of Type E mechanical weapons. These weapons were equivalent to Tier 2 energy weapons, capable of quickly killing great knights. He quickly went back to his work like nothing happened, trusting his guard to quickly settle the problem. The group of guards quickly made their way to a heavily armed corridor where they were issued several TYPSE mechanical weapons. The weapons were sleek and powerful, and the guards knew that this was newly added to the armory. They heard it was a newly invented weapon by their lord, so no one dared to question anything. As the sun began to set, the small army of mercenaries continued to indulge themselves in drinking and feasting. They had forgotten about their mission and were enjoying themselves as if they were on vacation. They had no idea that the god of death was quickly coming their way. The head guard, Edwin, quickly evacuated any unwanted people from the area. He didn't want any innocent bystanders to get caught in the crossfire. The guards slowly and silently encircled the mercenaries. The mercenaries were too drunk to notice, and they continued to drink and laugh. At the call of head guard Edwin, "Fire," the guards opened fire with their Type E mechanical weapons. The sound was surprisingly silent as a beam of light briefly lit up the night sky. The mercenaries were caught off guard, and they had no chance to defend themselves. The Type E mechanical weapons were incredibly powerful, but they cost a low magic crystal per shot equivalent to 1,000 gold coins. The mercenaries didn't even know what had hit them as they died in the last moments of their consciousness. After the chaos had died down, head guard Edwin ordered the cleanup. The guards quickly disposed of the bodies and any evidence of the massacre. They left the area looking like nothing had ever happened. The owner knew that the trouble was gone, and he resumed his business like nothing had happened. It was a quiet night, and the patrons enjoyed their drinks and company, completely unaware of the danger that had just passed. Chapter 24 New Variety of Crops. The Noble Alliance had stopped sending mercenaries or armies to Maximus's territory due to several reasons. Firstly, there was a lack of news about the fate of the first batch of mercenaries that they had sent to his territory. It was as if they had disappeared without a trace, leaving the Alliance in a state of uncertainty. Secondly, the Alliance was preoccupied with conquering other lands and territories, leaving them with no spare manpower to send. They were fighting multiple battles on different fronts, and their resources were stretched thin. The Alliance feared any attempt to take him down without any further information or manpower. As a result, Maximus was left to his own devices and he continued his peaceful life. Maximus was taking a stroll across the meadow. The sun was shining bright and the crops were flourishing. His guards were trailing him closely, scanning the surroundings for any potential threats. Maximus stopped in front of a lush field of wheat, admiring the sight of the golden grain swaying in the breeze. He closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, taking in the sweet scent of the fields. As he opened his eyes, he spotted Robert, his advisor responsible for the fields, surveying the land. "Ah, Robert," Maximus said, walking over to him. "How are the crops this year?" Robert turned to face him, a small smile playing on his lips. "The yield is excellent, my lord," he replied. "We have an abundance of wheat, rice, barley, and corn. Our farmers have been working hard to ensure the crops are healthy and thriving." Count Maximus nodded in approval. "That's good to hear. But the arable land is becoming insufficient to feed our people. Some citizens have also suggested increasing the variety of crops we grow." Robert said with a thoughtful expression. "I'll look into it. Perhaps we could try growing some fruits or vegetables or even some spices." Maximus said as he browsed the mall for new crop seed. Sunburst tomatoes seed. These vibrant and juicy tomatoes are bursting with flavor and are perfect for salads, sandwiches, and sauces. They thrive in warm and sunny conditions, making them a great crop for dry regions. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. Sun eggplant. These eggplants have a unique star-like pattern on their skin and are great for grilling, roasting, or frying. They grow quickly and easily and can be grown in most conditions. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. Fiery cabbage. This variety of cabbage has a deep red color and a sweet flavor. It is rich in nutrients and can be used in salads, soups, and stir-fries. It grows quickly and is resistant to pests and diseases. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. Sunfire peppers. These spicy peppers have a fiery flavor and grow quickly in warm and sunny conditions. They are great for adding heat to dishes and can be dried and ground into a spice powder. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. Firefly grapes. These grapes have a bright green color and a sweet and tangy flavor. They are easy to grow and can be used in jams, jellies, and as a snack. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. Earth carrots. These carrots grow very quickly, reaching full maturity in just a few weeks. They have a sweet and tender flavor and are perfect for snacking or adding to salads. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. Golden squash. This squash has a bright yellow color and a sweet and nutty flavor. It is easy to grow and can be used in soups, stews, and casseroles. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. Sapphire beans. These beans have a deep blue color and a tender and sweet flavor. They are easy to grow and can be used in salads, soups, and as a side dish. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. Patterned melons. These melons have a sweet and refreshing flavor and a unique speckled pattern on their skin. They are easy to grow and can be used in smoothies, salads, and as a dessert. 1000 PCS prices 0.1. After choosing for a while, Maximus turned and said to Robert, "Come to the castle. I think I have a variety of seeds that you want. As for the expansion of land, you can just get some of the magic crystal in the treasury." "Great, I'll come right away after I finish this," Robert replied happily. As they continued to walk through the fields, Count Maximus and Robert discussed their plans for expanding the lands and increasing the variety of crops. Rose stood in front of the cracked mirror, her reflection revealing a frail and emaciated figure. Her once vibrant and flowing hair now hung limp and lifeless, a shadow of its former glory. Her hollow cheeks and sunken eyes told the story of prolonged malnutrition and hardship. Beside her stood her family of 5, all bearing the signs of the war that had ravaged their land. Her younger brother, Thomas, with his tattered clothes and dirt-streaked face, clung to her side. Her younger sister, Vane, only 10 years old, looked up at Rose with hopeful eyes, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Sister Rose, I heard stories of a land where there is no fighting and food is abundant," Vane said, her voice filled with excitement and innocence. Rose's parents, weary and worn from a battle that they had just escaped, exchanged skeptical glances. The thought of a land untouched by war and chaos seemed too good to be true. Yet, a glimmer of hope sparked within them, reigniting a flicker of determination. With a sense of urgency, Rose's family gathered what little belongings they had managed to salvage from the ruins of their once thriving home. They set out on foot, venturing towards the rumored promised land mix of trepidation and anticipation. Each day forward was a testament to their resilience and unwavering hope for a better future. Along the way, they encountered remnants of the war, destroyed villages, abandoned homes, and the echoes of suffering. The scars of the conflict served as a constant reminder of the urgency to reach the promised land where peace and abundance awaited. Days turned into weeks, and they pressed on, their determination unwavering. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of hardship, they caught sight of the land they had sought. A lush landscape stretched before them, vibrant with life and bountiful harvests. The scent of fresh food and the distant sounds of laughter filled the air, revitalizing their weary bodies and weary souls. Rose and her family approached the city gate, weary from their long journey. The line in front of them was seemingly endless, and Rose could see the fatigue on her parents' faces. As they waited, Rose's younger brother and sister clung tightly to her arms, wide-eyed and curious about their new surroundings. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached the front of the line. The guard at the gate asked them to register and started questioning them. "What did you do before?" he asked. "I was a farmer," Rose's father replied. "I was a seamstress," Rose's mother added. Rose and her siblings had no specific skills other than helping their parents with their work. The guard wrote something down on a piece of paper and then asked them to place their hand on an orb. "What's this for?" Thomas, Rose's little brother, asked. "It's just a security measure," the guard explained. "If it turned green you can enter." With nervousness, Rose placed her hand on the orb. As her family also placed their hands on other orbs and waited. After a few seconds, the orb glowed green. "All right, you're good to go," the guard said, handing some modification passes. "You'll be assigned jobs tomorrow. For now, just rest and eat food." Rose's family thanked the guard and made their way to the line that offered their food. They were relieved to have finally found a safe place to stay. Chapter 25 Commercial Hub. Andre, leader of the merchant group formed by Maximus, stood at the edge of the valley, surveying the land before him. The valley was nestled in between two mountains, providing a natural barrier from the ongoing war between the Noble Alliance and the Three Dukes. "All right, boys, we've got a lot of work to do," Andre barked, turning to face his group of men. "This is going to be the top commercial hub of the kingdom in the future. Etheria market needs to be clean and safe for our customers, so let's get to work and make sure we build it right." The group of men, each with a muscular build and rough appearance, nodded in agreement. They had been with Andre for a few weeks and knew that he was a tough but fair leader. The men got to work, heaving heavy rocks and chopping down trees with their axes. Andre oversaw the operation, barking out orders and making sure everything was done efficiently. As the sun began to set, the men finally finished cleaning the valley. Andre stood at the center, arms crossed, surveying the area with a look of satisfaction. "Good work, boys," he said, patting each of them on the back. "Now let's set up camp and get ready for tomorrow. We've got a lot of business to do." As the days passed, Andre and his men worked tirelessly to prepare the valley for the trading area. They began by clearing out the debris and dead plants that littered the area, using shovels and axes to dig up the earth and remove any obstacles. Once the area was cleared, they began to construct the stalls and booths. They brought in carts filled with lumber and stone. More important, he bought the enchanted mortar given by his lord. The enchanted mortar, a magical mortar that, when used to lay bricks, creates a stronger bond between them and makes the wall more resistant to damage. Price 50. Andre supervised the construction, barking orders at his men and ensuring that everything was done according to his specifications. The commercial hub began to take shape over the course of a few weeks. The stalls and booths were painted in bright colors. Finally, only the supplies and customers were needed. As Andre was directing his men to build the trading area, Maximus summoned Phantom, the leader of the Phantom group, to discuss their plan. Phantom, I need you to spread the word discreetly. We need everyone in this kingdom to know about Etheria market, Maximus said. Phantom nodded. Understood, sir. I'll start sending out messages right away. Maximus smiled. Excellent. Make sure to prioritize those who are affected by the conflict. We want to help them, especially nobles who need our supplies. Phantom replied, Yes, my lord. Time passed and the messages were sent out to the people of the kingdom. As they received the news, some were skeptical, while others were ecstatic at the opportunity to acquire much-needed supplies. But regardless of their initial reactions, they all began making preparations to visit this so-called Etheria market. The nobles saw this kind of market as an opportunity to gain access to much-needed supplies, while others saw it as a potential threat to their own business interests. Billy sat at his dining table, his head resting heavily in his hands. He had just finished his meager meal of bread, and his stomach still rumbled with hunger. Although he is rich, he and his family barely ate food in the last few weeks, with the ongoing conflict between the Noble Alliance and Dukes. The supplies were getting scarce and out of supply. His son looked up at him in deep thought. Father, have you heard the rumors of a newly built trading area called Etheria Market? Billy asked. Billy looked up surprised. No, I haven't. What is it? It's said that it was built by a superpower from another place. Rumors have it that they sell large amounts of food and resources, his son explained. Oh? Billy looked at his son unsure. Where did you get this news? Is it reliable? Of course, father, I heard merchants from other cities have purchased goods there and are already reselling it. His son confidently said. I need to go there and see for myself. You take care of your mother and sister. I'll be back soon. Convinced, he hurriedly grabbed his coat, preparing to set out towards the rumored market. His son nodded in understanding. I'll take care of things here, father. After days of traveling, Billy arrived at Etheria Market, his eyes widened at the bustling scene of the commercial street. As he approached the entrance, his eyes fell upon the plaque that read Etheria Market, and a sense of calm washed over him. The plaque's presence alone was enough to convince him that this marketplace was truly extraordinary. The plaque of Radiant Aura, Tier 1, a plaque that emits an invisible aura that can instill feelings of awe and calmness in those nearby. Price 100. He was immediately stopped by a guard at the entrance who asked him if he was a merchant or visitor. I'm just looking around, Billy replied. As Billy walked through the rows of stalls, he couldn't help but admire the variety of goods being sold. He approached a store selling honey wheat, which is a luxury staple food. He then asked the manager about the prices of the goods. Honey wheat, a type of wheat that has a sweet, honey-like flavor and is often used to make desserts and pastries. 1 ton, price 1. Excuse me, sir. How much is your wheat per kilogram? Billy asked. It's 50 copper coins per kilogram, the manager replied. That's quite expensive. Do you have any other options that are more affordable? Billy inquired. We have some cheaper options, but they are not as high quality as the honey wheat, the manager explained. I see. Can you show me the other options? Billy asked. Sunburnt wheat. This wheat is particularly tasty, but it is extremely easy to grow and produces a high yield of grain, making it an excellent choice for farmers looking to maximize their profits. 1 ton, price 0.1. Golden wheat. This wheat has a rich, golden color and a slightly sweet flavor. It is often used in baked goods. 1 ton, price 0.5. Afterward, the manager presented Billy with alternative options. This is golden wheat. It has been quite in demand recently and its price is 25 copper per kilogram. However, if that exceeds your budget, we do have a more economical option, sunburnt wheat, priced at only 5 copper per kilogram. I need 30 kilograms of sunburnt wheat and 20 kilograms of golden wheat. How much do I pay? Billy asked. That would be 650 copper. We also offer special delivery services for an additional fee. If you want to avail it, just go to Gateway Logistics, the manager reminded him. Can I have these goods delivered to my home? Billy was shocked by such service. Originally he was planning to hire a carriage, but since this Etheria market offered this kind of service, then it should be more reliable. Of course, the manager replied. But it would be an additional 10% of the cost for delivery. All right, I'll pay for the delivery. "Thank you for your help," Billy said as he handed over the money. Next, he walked up to a stall selling fresh fruits and vegetables. "Excuse me, can you tell me about your product and the prices?" he asked. The owner replied, "Of course. We have a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables here. Our prices range from 20 to 50 copper coins, depending on the type of product." Billy nodded. "Thank you for letting me know. Do you have any recommendations?" The owner smiled. "Our sunburst bananas are particularly popular right now. They are creamy and sweet, and give you energy for the day." Sunburst banana, a banana with a bright yellow, sunburst pattern on the skin. It has a sweet, creamy taste with a hint of tropical flavors. When eaten, it gives the consumer a burst of energy and a feeling of warmth. 1 ton price 1. Billy looked at the basket of bananas and decided to try them out. "I'll take 50 PCS of those, please." The owner weighed the bananas and said, "That will be 250 copper, sir." Billy handed over the coins and took a bite of the fruit. The sweet and juicy flavor burst into his mouth, and he couldn't help but smile. As he walked through the commercial hub, he continued to stop at various stalls, buying the supplies his family needed. He was pleased with the variety of goods being sold and how reasonably priced they were. At the end of the day, Billy ordered the Gateway Logistic and also got in with them to his home. He felt relaxed as his family can finally have something decent to eat. He thought that he should take his family someday to shop.